Yeah,
good.
Wanted to read a little bit from that article. The New York Times writes, whether it's suggesting shooting protesters or sicking dogs on them, preemptively defending the Confederate names of military installations, or arguing that his supporters love the black people, Mr. Trump increasingly sounds like a cultural relic, detached from not just the left-leaning protesters in the streets, but also the country's political middle, and even some Republican allies and his own military leaders. They continue. While Mr. Trump has a long history of making insensitive and tone-deaf comments on race, including remarks widely seen as racist, he has never appeared more isolated on a dominant social and political moment in the country. Hunkered down at the White House, hiding, tweeting conspiracy theories about injured protesters and describing demonstrators as thugs. He regularly uses harsh and violent language that no other American leader employs, vocally supporting the views of white nationalists and even defenders of white supremacy, rather than the views expressed by majorities of Americans in polls. At a time when the country is confronting three overlapping crises, Trump's inability to demonstrate empathy illustrates the limitations of his political arsenal. And that lack of empathy, Joe, that is predominant in all of these crises, from coronavirus to racial unrest. Well, he just doesn't get it.
Well, he is so disconnected from the mainstream of America, and that's now including from the United States military.
Yeah.
Not only its leaders, but the rank and file on these issues. But also a growing number of evangelicals, certainly a growing number of white Catholics, if you look at the polls. And, you know, the New York Times talked about his harsh and violent language. Of course, we remember that and played clips of that during the campaign where he was talking about he liked the good old days when people got knocked down and they'd take them out on stretchers. And if you beat up that guy, I'll pay for your legal fees. And of course, it's continued. But in the middle of these protests, in the middle of this unrest, after the president has seen that his poll numbers have collapsed, for talking about shooting people that are protesting, vicious dogs being sicked on people outside of the White House, you would think he would see his poll numbers drop and understand he's got to take a different tack. June the 1st, again, is going to be a day that's going to be, it's going to be that day.
Yeah.
I believe that historians will look back and say, well, you know, maybe at one point Donald Trump could have gotten away with shooting somebody on Fifth Avenue and his supporters would still love him, but he couldn't get away with what he did on June the 1st, clearing out peaceful protesters, lying about it, having his people lie about it, and saying that they didn't use chemical agents on them, and beating people up, beating up our allies' media outlets who were not provoking them at all to hold up a Bible in a bizarre way that a Republican senator said he'd never seen anybody hold the Bible that way, and he reads the Bible every day. And a precipitous drop, 39% approval rating, a 58% disapproval rating, head-to-head matchups. He's losing in a head-to-head matchups by, you know, anywhere from 8 to 12 percentage points. And yes, it's early, but there is a hardening of attitudes around Donald Trump. And he continues to use the harsh and violent language the New York Times was reporting about in a way that's going to continue to hurt him politically. And I must say, even cynically speaking, I don't understand why he keeps doing it. Like yesterday, he was actually at a round table with faith leaders and law enforcement officials and small business owners at Gateway Church in Dallas. He praised the National Guard and said he admired the ease at which they forcefully cut through the crowds in Minneapolis. Take a look at this.
Minneapolis, they went through 3 nights of hell, And then I was insistent on having the National Guard go in and do their work. It was like a miracle. It just, everything stopped. And I'll never forget the scene. It's not supposed to be a beautiful scene, but to me it was, after you watch policemen running out of a police precinct. But we are very proud of the fact that I called, I said, I'm sorry, we have to have them go in. And they went in, and it was like a knife cutting butter right through, boom. I'll never forget, you saw the scene on that road, wherever it may be, in the city, Minneapolis. They were lined up, boom, they just walked straight. And yes, there was some tear gas and probably some other things, and the crowd dispersed and they went through. By the end of that evening, and it was a short evening, everything was fine, and you didn't hear too much about that location having problems anymore.
You know, I remember
Wow.
back in December of 2015 when Donald Trump was talking about Muslim bans and Muslim registry. I asked, is this what Germany looked like in 1933? You always have to be careful, of course, using analogies that line this president up with anybody. So I won't say that the president of the United States saying that it was a beautiful thing, police cutting through marchers like a knife cutting butter. I won't say that that's fascist. I will leave that to our viewers to go back in history and see what fascist leaders have said about if anybody said anything similar to it was a beautiful scene like knife cutting through butter. But thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.